Hi, I'm Ralph Kircher, part of the team that's bringing you the 2022 Garden Center show in Milwaukee, August 9th to the 11th. Thanks for joining us for our rescheduled Garden Center show webinar on leadership, management, and creating a culture of excellence. I think you'll find it was worth the wait, and I hope you'll look me up at the show in Milwaukee next month so I can apologize in person for the delay in rescheduling. A reminder that we have just 4 short weeks until we launch our show and the tour of Milwaukee area garden centers on August 8th. If you haven't done so already, be sure to register yourself and your entire staff today at gardencentershow.com. And if you're staying overnight, please head to gardencentershow.com and book your hotel through the site for a great rate that's set to expire this Friday. That's what the hotels are telling us. It's not our fault, but get your reservations in by Friday. We've planned a fantastic lineup of education to help you build your business, a lineup that includes today's speaker, Bob Megan. Today's webinar host has lived in the trenches of independent retail for almost 40 years. First as the founder and owner of one of the world's first specialty kite shops, and now is the owner of Whiz Bang Retail Training, a company dedicated to helping independent retailers thrive in an age dominated by Amazon and other e-commerce giants. Bob is a well-known speaker, author, and co-creator of the Retail Mastery System, the most comprehensive training program ever created for independent retailers. If you like what Bob has to say today, you won't want to miss his half-day boot camp on how to run a business that doesn't run you. This takes place from 1 to 5 p.m. on Monday, August 8th, the day prior to the Garden Center show. Bob is going to be giving away 2 tickets to the boot camp during the webinar today, so stay tuned for those details. One last item. We know you're busy and may get pulled away during today's webinar. If you can't stay for all of it, no worries. We'll be posting a replay to gardencentershow.com probably later today, later this afternoon, that will be available to watch at your convenience. Now let's bring on Bob and get going. We've all got a lot to learn today.
All right. Well, thank you, Ralph. So this will date me. It was the summer of 1985, and I had a rare day off. So my kite store, the Mackinac Kite Company, was in Grand Haven. One of our stores was in Grand Haven, Michigan, which is a beach town in Michigan. And I had a rare day off, and I was at the beach. I was relaxing. Everything should have been good. But instead, what happened was I was anxious. I was frustrated. I was worried that my team was not giving my customers the service that they deserved. You see, that year I had hired what I thought was going to be the best team ever. I hired, a group of young college kids. They were bright. They were accomplished. I thought that they were going to be great. And have you ever had that happen where you hire somebody and boy, you think that they're going to be your next superstar, and instead they turn out to be a total dud? Well, that's what I had. I had a whole team of them. So finally I had enough, and I go and I pack my stuff up from the beach, and I drive my car to Chinook Pier, which is where our store was located. And now you got to understand, Chinook Pier was 2 buildings, it was a tourist mall, 2 buildings with a boardwalk in between it. It was on the Grand River. The Grand River spills out into Lake Michigan, the beach. And I parked far away, and I snuck over to Chinook Pier, and I snuck into the surf shop. Now, the surf shop, remember, there were windows, there were two buildings, there was a boardwalk, and these stores had lots and lots of windows. So the surf shop had windows that faced the Mackinac Kite Company. So I snuck into the surf shop, and the window that faced the Mackinac Kite Company, my store, had a rack of bikinis. And so there I was. I had my head poking through a rack of bikinis. And what was I doing? You all know what I was doing. I was spying on my team. If you've ever had this happen to you, if you've ever felt like spying on your team because you were afraid they weren't doing a good job, put "that's me" in the chat or say something about it. But you see, that's what I was doing. I really wanted to make sure that my team was doing a good job. I went there. And so tell me what you thought happened. So there's two choices, A and B. A is I had a team full of people. They were all out on the floor engaging my customers, giving them that great service, making me proud. B was they were standing around the counter talking to each other while my store filled with customers weren't getting served. So what do you think the answer was? And you're right, it was B. It was B. The people were not, Steve, you are exactly right. It was B. This was a real moment for me because I was frustrated. I was angry. But it just took just a moment for me to understand that, wait a second, if Nordstrom's has dozens of stores or dozens and dozens of stores and thousands of sales associates, and they can give legendary customer service. At the time, I had 2 stores and maybe 20 employees. I couldn't get them to do what I wanted them to do. What was the problem? And I think you all know what the problem was. The problem was me. I did not know what I was doing. I did not know how to create a culture. I was not a good leader. I was not a good manager. I was a friendly guy. I loved my business, but I didn't have the skills. This is important. I didn't have the skills. So that moment really kind of led me on a journey. And that's what I'm sharing with you here today is what I learned on that journey. And so, you know how if you watch the weight loss commercials on television, there's always a before and an after picture. Before, the picture is always the person's always a little overweight or a lot overweight. The second picture, they're always healthy and smiling and all those things. Well, there really was a before and an after picture of me as a leader and a manager. In the before picture, I was always stressed out. I was always frustrated. I was always afraid that my customers weren't getting a great experience. And it really created a lot of stress for me. And it cost me a lot of money. And it was not good. But then I went on this journey and I read the books and I bought the cassette tapes and did all those things. And the after picture, it took about 18 months, but the after picture was I had a team that ran on rails. I had a team that did what I wanted them to do. I had a team that felt empowered. I had a team that really did a great job for me and did a good job by my customers. And if that's what you want, you are in the right place. We only have 90 minutes. Now we have 80 minutes, but I'm just going to sort of give you that big look at what you need to do to create that culture of excellence. And you in the garden center business, you're in a really tricky business too, because you have the challenge of hiring on lots of people and getting them ready to do enormous amounts of business in a short amount of time. You don't have the luxury of really bringing people up and bringing them along. I had the same thing. I had seasonal stores. At the time of this story, our store in Mackinac City was strictly seasonal, May to October. Our store in Grand Haven, well, at that time was strictly seasonal too. It was a little longer. It was end of March till the end of November, but it was still the same thing. But there wasn't that intensity that you have in the garden center coming into spring. So what I'm sharing with you today becomes more important for you because you have to bring people up to speed more quickly. So I hope that you find this time really, really helpful. And so my colleague, Indiana Huggett, is on the chat. So if you have any questions or you have any comments or you see something that's working for you, please share them. I am here for you. And when this is done, we intend on being done on time, 3:30. But here's my promise to you. You're important to me. The fact that you're here live I'm honored by that. And I will stay as long as it takes to answer all of your questions. So let's get going. So in our family, in the Nagin family, we all like to cook. And so since the boys, we have two sons. My wife, Susan, who's also my partner here at Whiz Bang Training. We have two sons. They're now 24 and 21. But when they were growing up, we tried to teach them how to cook. And we always had this saying about fresh ingredients. And the saying in our family was, how do you get good chicken? What is the secret to good chicken? What's the answer? Good chicken. So you can't make a great chicken dish if you're not cooking good chicken. And the reason that I'm sharing that with you is you cannot create a culture of excellence. You cannot have a team filled with superstars if you don't have good people in the first place. You have to have good chicken if you're going to make a good chicken dish. And so the next time you're interviewing, look across the table and ask yourself, not those people, ask yourself, is this person good chicken? Because if they're not good chicken, don't hire them. If they are good chicken, now we have something to work with. So here's how I used to hire. I would put an orange, if somebody quit on a Thursday and I needed help on a Saturday, I would put an orange and black sign out in the window, and that orange and black sign said help wanted. And the first person who came into my store, I would put a mirror under their nose. And what was I doing? You all know what I was doing. I was seeing if they had a breath. If they had a breath, it meant they were alive. If they were alive, they were hired. And then if they showed up 7 days in a row on time, what happened? They became assistant manager. And I lived in that world for a long time, that world of, just hire and hope. And you cannot be excellent. You cannot take advantage of your competitive advantage being an independent garden center if you don't have great people. It's not hire and hope. It's starting with good chicken and then moving on from there. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. You are thinking, well, wait a second. Times are so hard and it's so hard to find people that right now I will take absolutely anybody. If that is you, put yes, that's me in the chat. If you feel like that there's a labor pinch that is really inhibiting your ability to have good people, this is something that we need to talk about. Thank you, Steve, for that. Yes. So I'm going to look at all of you and share with you that I don't think that that's correct. Think about this for a moment. Think about this for a moment. There are millions of people who work, want to work, and need to work. And they have lots and lots of choices, but there are millions of people out there. You don't need all of them. You just need the ones that are good for you. And so in order for you to get them, you have to know how to get them. So I'm sharing this slide with you. I'm looking pretty casual coming to you from a hotel room someplace on the road, but that's our friend Patty Zeller. And Patty Zeller is a really sharp merchant. She's got a wonderful, wonderful store called the Animal Connection in Virginia. And Patty sent me an email and she was so frustrated. Her manager had just gotten stolen by one of the pet superstore chains, and she was stuck with no employees. She was working all the hours and she was just frustrated. So what I said to her, I said, Patty, can we do a live coaching call? And she said, sure. But Indy, maybe you could even put the link. So we're going to give you a link to both the coaching call and the follow-up call that I did with Patty. So what I did with Patty, because you got to understand, Patty had a very, very successful career in advertising. I believe it was in advertising. Indy's going like, thank you, Indy. I always need somebody to have my back, right? There's Indy. So she had a very successful career in advertising. And then all of a sudden she's running this pet store and she can't find any people. So I coached her through the Red Hot Help Wanted ad, which you're going to learn about in a little bit. And we talked about ethical poaching, and I changed her mindset, which is a lot of it. But at the end of our coaching call, she felt a lot better. Then this is the follow-up call that I did 2 or 3 weeks later, where she had a new manager, and I think it was 3 part-time employees that she was super happy with. So again, if you have the belief that there aren't good people out there, that belief will affect your reality. If you have the skills to go out and recruit effectively, and you have the belief and you are a great place for people to work, people will find you. So let's talk. Let's start with recruiting. So let's just recognize that recruiting, getting people to apply, it's a numbers game. You know, what you want to do is get more people applying and better people applying. So if you have 15 people applying versus 3 people applying, what's a better pool? Of course, if you have more good quality people applying, the chances that you find a superstar go way up. If you put an orange and black sign out on your window, the chances that you find a superstar are low. If you're only advertising on one digital job site, the chances that you find somebody are low. But when you know what you're doing and you go out and do the work, the chances become high. So think of recruiting as marketing. What are you doing? You're getting people to want to come and apply. So you're not putting out a help wanted ad. You're creating a marketing piece that will attract the kind of people you want to have working for you. And what is the bait? The bait is words. The words that you use in your marketing piece, in your red hot help wanted ad, are going to be what will attract the right people to you and repel the wrong people. So again, what are we trying to do? We're trying to get the right people applying. So the very first thing that you want to do is you want to sit down with your team, your key employees, and say, what does my best employee look like? What characteristics do they have? You know, at the Mackinac Kite Company, they were things like fun, self-starter, honest, loved children. You know, so think about what your best employees, what characteristics do they have? Because Zig Ziglar talked about this thing called vague generality versus meaningful specifics. You want active words that when people read your Red Hot Help Wanted ad, they go, hey, that's me. This sounds like a great place. This sounds like someplace I would like to work. And so this Red Hot Help Wanted ad is an incredibly, and I'm looking at you and telling you, if you're having problems getting people, good people applying, you need to do this. I'm going to give you a free report here in just a little bit, but you need to start by creating a Red Hot Help Wanted ad. Patty had a Red Hot Help Wanted ad, but she created it from this bad place. She was grumpy when she created it. So we really, really buffed it up and made it sound great. and it made a big, big difference. So here is the basic format. And again, we're just going to go through this quickly. This program, as I was sharing with Ralph and Andrea before we started, this program doesn't have this part in it, but we added it because I know so many people are having problems. So I'm going to give you a report so you'll be able to create your very own Red Hot Help Wanted ad on your own and do it correctly. But basically, the job title and a headline. So you want to have a job title. So it could be something along the lines of customer-focused sales associate. And then the headlines, do you love working with people and plants? That would be a question mark. That would be a headline. Again, a headline would be something that would make people go, yeah, I would love to work with people and plants. And then the format is this: if you are. And then the ideal characteristics. In the case of the Mackinac Company, fun, self-starter, love to work with people, love children, then, and would love to, and then that's where you put the responsibilities. This is where you give people a sort of a glimpse of what their job would entail. This is also, if there's manual labor, this is where you talk about it. If it's hard work and they have to pick things up, which I know they have to do in your industry, this is when you talk about it, because a lot of people love the physical aspect of working at a garden center. But the people who don't, you don't want them applying. They're just going to waste your time. And then there is we offer. So the we offer is when you brag on why people should work for you. Now, this is really important. I hope that you have competitive wages. If you have a benefits package, that's where you talk about it. But today's workers especially are looking for more than pay and benefits. They're looking for the intangibles. So we offer a fun place to work, a family atmosphere, an opportunity to grow, a place to have your voice heard, all of these things. And if you don't know what to put in that we offer section, ask your best people. Say, hey, why do you like working here? And they'll probably go boop, 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 boop. And that becomes the we offer. And then there's a company description. That's where you talk about your garden center, just in a sentence or two. And then finally, there's the call to action. And that call to action is come in to apply, or go online, go to our website, or send your resume to. But tell them exactly what to do. This is so important. If you don't tell people exactly what to do, you cannot assume that they will know exactly what to do. So this is the basic format of the Red Hot Help Wanted ad. And this is really, really important. I can't tell you how many people this format, this Red Hot Help Wanted ad, has truly changed their lives. If you're having a problem getting people right now, two things I want you to do. I want you to watch that hot seat that I did with Patty Zeller. That I see that Indy put the link in the chat here right now. I'm going to give you access to a whole report on how to write a Red Hot Help Wanted ad. And so watch the hot seat, create a Red Hot Help Wanted ad, do what I'm sharing with you, do what you learn in the report, and watch things change. So once you create your Red Hot Help Wanted ad, this is really important. A lot of people just put it on Indeed or Craigslist or Monster. No. So think of it like fishing. You're fishing, right? And so the more lines you have in the water, the higher the probability that you're going to catch fish. If you only put your Red Hot Help Wanted ad one place, the exposure it gets goes way down. So I'm going to share with you 11 places to share your Red Hot Help Wanted ad. Frame it, put it in your store. Instead of the headline should be always looking for great people. have it, then then just have the red hot help wanted ad. And the bottom say, if this sounds like you and you're interested in working in my garden center, please go go talk to somebody at the counter, and they'll give them an application or something like that. A bag stuffer. So you create, your red hot help wanted ad. You make it so it's sort of in that 8.5 by 11 format. You make it into 2 per page or 4 per page. You train all of your people at the register to hold it up, look the customer in the eye, and say, we're looking for people. If you know anybody who fits this description, please send them our way, right? So all of a sudden, all of your customers become distribution channels for your red hot help wanted ad. If you have a new newsletter or an email newsletter, send it out, talk about it, make it a standalone. You can you can also give it to your friends, family, colleagues, business acquaintances, vendors. Aside from Indy, every single person in our company came because whenever we had a new opening, we wrote a red hot help wanted ad for that specific position. And then everybody in our company sent it to all of their friends and families. Their friends, everybody opened it up and said, oh, 2 people were like, oh, that's me. And they applied themselves. 2 other people, they passed along to a friend. They were like, oh, this sounds like. So again, what are we looking for? We're looking for distributions. Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where we got Indy. Isn't that where we got you, Indy? So we got Indy from LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the world's largest job fairs, so to speak. So again, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest. You've got openings. Talk about it. Employees aren't going to just come flying down from heaven. You got to go out and get them. Job sites like Indeed, ZipRecruiters, your website. This is important. So when you start talking about this in your email newsletters, you want to have a link that brings them back to your website where you'll find your red hot help wanted ad. Ads in the newspaper. If you hire older people, a lot of people still read the newspaper. Consider investing in an ad. Ad in related organization publications or websites. So if there is a local gardening club, their newsletter might be a place where you would put it. And you can also create a video ad. This is Anna's Flowers. Friends of ours, they have a garden center in Ontario. And these 2 just basically they read it. There's 2 of them. And then Marlene said, if you are, and then she read one, and then, they just read it. The entire video is a minute and 6 seconds long. And the views that this racked up were just crazy. We were all super surprised by them. So you see, this is the beginning of your journey to having a culture of excellence. This is the beginning of your journey to having the kind of team that gives you the freedom that you want and deserve, that gives you the money that you deserve because they're trained, because they're skilled. The kind of freedom that I didn't have when I had to pack up from the beach, but I did have when I learned what I'm sharing with you right here today. So, free report. There's a free report on how to write a red hot help wanted ad. It is excerpt from our Retail Mastery System, which is our flagship product, and you can get it absolutely free right now if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this as a replay. Just email me at bob.negen, N-E-G-E-N, B-O-B-N-G-E-N, backwards and forwards the same way. How cool is that? My grandpa's name was Otto. I have an O-T-T-O. Anyway, never mind. My palindrome bits. But you can get that free report just by emailing them, emailing me, and I strongly encourage you to do it. This really is a game changer in the recruiting scene. But really what you're trying to do is recognize this. You're always wearing your recruiting hat. So one of our platinum mastermind group members, we are highest level group, $15,000 a year, application and invitation. Even if you apply, doesn't mean you're not going to get in. One of our members she has 13 stores in Delaware. She was having terrible problems, and she did exactly what I did we did exactly what I did with Patty. And she calls her recruiting strategy 24/7, 365, meaning she is always looking. She is always looking. Because here's the thing. You never know when that next great employee is standing right in front of you. Now, I learned this the hard way. So our first store was in Mackinac City, Michigan. Here's Michigan. There's Mackinac City. And right next door to the Mackinac Kite Company was the world's only seasonal McDonald's. It's no longer there, and that's a dubious distinction at best. But it was right next door to my store. So, I was a young single guy. So every morning I'd go to McDonald's to get my Egg McMuffin and coffee and then go open the store. And I always got into Glenda's line because Glenda was unfailingly pleasant. And one day I was stressed out because somebody quit on a Thursday and I needed floor coverage on a Saturday. And I was, all anxious and annoyed, as some of you might be regularly. And I got to the front, and I don't know why, but somehow the words just blurted out of my mouth. I said, "Glenda, will you come work for us?" And Glenda, you know how they stand behind the register at McDonald's? She does like this. "Bob, I thought you'd never ask." And I'll tell you, Glenda became one of the best, if not the best, employee in the history of the Mackinac Kite Company. She stayed with us for over 15 years. She was always right there with the customers. She was just fantastic. And she was sitting in front of me all along. I just wasn't looking. I just wasn't thinking about recruiting. I wasn't wearing my recruiting hat. Now, here is one of the ways that Patty changed her fortunes. It's called ethical poaching. And remember, I told you about my friend Misha, who's got the 13 stores, that she has a card and it says, "You're amazing. We should talk." And then here's what it says on the other side. It says, "Your customer service just now was exceptional. You're exactly the kind of person we would like to talk to. If you're thinking about a change or just want to see what's out there, give me a call or go to our website. This could be great." So if she goes into, notice she's not saying, "How much are you making? I'll give you an extra quarter." She's saying, "I hope you're happy where you are, but if you aren't, I'm interested in talking to you." So if she goes out to a restaurant and has a great experience, she gives the server this card. She does something like that. So she's always looking. And if somebody's great, she gives them this card. Now, what Patty did that I absolutely love is she changed it up a little bit. So the first employee she hired, she went to her hair salon, and they had a tremendously friendly person at the counter. And she said, "You have just got such a great personality. If you know anybody like you who might be looking for a job, why don't you have them call me?" Well, that person contacted Patty herself. She liked working at the salon, but she loved the idea of working at a pet store. So now she's Patty's assistant manager. So do you see, here's what I'm saying to you, is you are not a victim. Let me say it again. You are not a victim of the labor market. Again, there are plenty of people out there who are working or who want to work. You just want to be the kind of place that attracts the right kind of people and keeps the right kind of people. And it starts with recruiting. So let's stop for just a second. This is a great place to stop. Is at the Garden Center show on August 8th, the day before the show, I'm going to be doing a boot camp. And the boot camp is from 1 to 5, and it's titled "How to Run a Business That Doesn't run you. And I had my own retail business for 19 years. My wife, Susan, and I have been running whiz-bang retail training, working with retailers like you, including countless garden centers. I spoke at the old ANLA Management Clinic, I think 5 times, the OFA short course. I've spoken at a lot of garden center events, so I know your industry too. But we're going to be talking about how to run a business that doesn't run you. If you want to really get a handle on your business, that is August 8th, 1 to 5. I strongly encourage you to be there. I guarantee that you will leave really, really excited about the information, and you'll know how to really get control of your business. If you feel like you have a tiger by the tail and you're barely holding on, this is a boot camp for you. So let's go here now. So now that you found somebody, how do you create a team of superstars? And remember the title of this program, Leadership, Management, and the Creation of Culture. Well, that's what we're going to talk about now. So management is getting them to do what you want them to do. This makes sense? In fact, that one of my most popular programs for many years in the garden center industry was, why don't they do what I want them to do? And it was a whole hour and a half, but we're just going to spend about 5 minutes here. But so if you have a full team and they're not doing things the way that you want them to do, don't get furious, get curious. Look and ask yourself these questions. So why don't they do what you want them to do? They don't know what to do. I'll give you an example from your industry. So I have a black thumb. I can't grow anything. I can talk to you about how to run a retail store and how to run a garden center, but I can't talk to you about how to grow anything. But let's just say I came to work for you. And it was very, everybody was real enthusiastic. And, I'm a good interview, so you decided to hire me. And then you said, hey, Bob, I was your only employee. Bob, I'm going away for a couple of days. Take care of the place. And then it was a real hot couple of days. And you come back and everything's wilted. And you said, Bob, how come you didn't water the plants? And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know that's what you wanted me to do. And so I didn't know what to do. That's why I didn't do it. And so then a couple of weeks later, you're getting ready to leave again. You say, hey, Bob, you know what? I'm going to leave for a couple of days, but I really want you to water the plants, okay? Water the plants while I'm gone. And because I'm an enthusiastic employee, I watered the plants. I drowned the plants. And you come back and you say, Bob, what did you do? I mean, what did you do to these plants? You drowned them. And it's because I knew what to do, but I didn't know how to do it. My intention was correct. I wanted to do right by you, but you didn't give me the tools I needed to do right by you. And so then the next thing is, why don't people do what you want them to do? They're more comfortable not doing it than they are doing it. This has to do with sales training. Is a very, very common thing that happens is people, you tell people, go out and engage with our customers, sell them something. And so your employees, because they don't know how to sell skillfully because they haven't been trained, they're more comfortable standing behind the counter than they are on the floor engaging your customers, selling them stuff. This is frustrating for you. I know, because I was the guy sitting on the beach. And then finally, they're not willing to do it. Have you ever had that happen where you have somebody at once upon a time was a really great employee, and then one day you look around and you go, wait a second, wait, what happened to you? and they know what to do. They know how to do it. They're comfortable doing it. They just don't feel like doing it anymore. And if you have people like that, you have to either let them choose a lane. Either you need to have real talk with them. They need to come back into the fold, or you need to get rid of them. You can't afford to carry dead weight. So, and the next thing, tell them what to do. So you have to tell them what to do. They are not mind readers. Indy, what time do you have? 2:40. Okay. So we said, good. I just wanted to make sure that I was seeing things correctly. Our clock there is way off. Okay. So it says 5:12. I'm going, well, that's not. So if you don't teach people what to do, you can't expect them to do it, right? They're not mind readers. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see managers make, is they hire people, and because you've been doing this so long, because you know how much to water a plant, because you know what to do, because you know how to make change, because you know what to do. It's second nature to you. It's things that are as obvious to you as the nose on your face don't mean anything to a new employee. So you have to create standards and communicate them. Because if you don't communicate them, they have no choice but to create their own. Does that make sense? If you're not telling them exactly what to do and how to do it and communicating it to them incredibly clearly, they have no choice but to figure it out on their own. And then you have no right to be frustrated or annoyed when they're not doing what you want the way that you want them. Does that make sense? This is the biggest mistake that I see people make. So if people aren't doing what you want them to do, don't be angry. Don't be frustrated. Look yourself in the mirror and say, what do I need to do? You need to take responsibility for the quality of your team. So how does this work? How do you get them to this place? How do you create a team where everybody knows what to do? Everybody's comfortable doing it. Everybody's out there doing it, and it's second nature to them. It's all about this process. And it starts with your vision. You need to know what you want to have happening on your floor. You have to have a vision for your garden center. Part of that vision is, what does it look like? What does it feel like? How does your team behave? How does your team interact with your customers? How do your customers feel when they leave? You need to start with a vision. Again, going back to that Zig Ziglar quote, vague generality versus meaningful specifics. Meaningful specifics. What do you want your garden center to be like? Then once you have that vision for your business, then you create standards that support that vision. And a standard is merely, a non-negotiable. A standard is, this is how things are done here. This is how we make change. This is how we water the plants. This is how we approach the customers. This is how we recommend products. This is what we do when. This is what we do if. Those are standards. And then once you've created the standards, then you need to train people to those standards. Now, this is important. This is an important distinction, because a lot of people, when they create their training program, and we're going to talk about training in a little bit here, when they create their training program, they do it in the language of responsibilities. And when you train, you need to train in the language of behaviors. Let me give you an example. Washing the windows. So if you say to someone, wash the windows, let me ask you, is that a responsibility? Is that a what to do? Or is that a how to do it? And I'm sure you all agree that that is a what to do, right? Wash the windows. But the problem comes in when you so if I told a 17-year-old boy who's eager to please go wash the windows, they're going to go fast, right? They're going to, hey, I'm going to go fast. But if you have somebody, they think that you want it to be done fast, and they do it fast, and they come back, and it's not done the way that you want it to be done, you look disappointed, and they're disappointed that you're disappointed. So really, it's the beginning of problems. So that's a responsibility. Now let's take that same responsibility, that same what to do, and put it in the language of training, put it in the language of behaviors, how to do it. So wash the windows now becomes you wash the windows inside and out to the corners and the edges until there's no smudges or streaks, and then you put the stuff away. So may I ask you, is that a little more clear? And the answer is yes. And so when you build your training program, you really need to be careful that you are thinking and communicating, that your standards are communicated in the language of behaviors, what to do. And there's all sorts of things that you need to think about. How do you give change? Where do you put the plans? How do you, all of the things that go into running your garden center, making it run on rails. So again, so that you get that freedom that you deserve, so that your business isn't a ball and chain. It really, really starts with training. So I'm going to say this again. If you're not clearly communicating your standards, your people have no choice but to create their own. Does this feel like you ever? I love this. Do you ever feel like you're herding cats? Well, if you feel like that, you need to get serious about training, because this is all about training, isn't it? If you give people what they need to be successful, all of a sudden, half the battles is done. So there's 3 parts to training. There's policies, procedures, and operations. That's basically how your store runs. How do you ask for a day off? How do you make a vacation request? How do you, what is it? Where do employees park? If you have an alarm that inadvertently goes off, how do you turn it off? All the things that are in your head that have to do with running your garden center successfully, those are part of your training program. Then there's product training. Going back to, if you hired me to work in your garden center, well, you wouldn't want to hire me. Why? Because I don't know a shade plant from a sunny plant. When people come into an independent garden center, they expect knowledge, service, and experience, don't they? And the only way for you to do that is to have a training program. You can't just throw people on the floor and expect them to give your customers a great experience, because if that is the expectation, I don't need to tell you how much unskilled people who don't know what they're talking about, how much it hurts your reputation, how much it hurts your sales, which leads to the third thing, which is sales training. Product training is what you sell. Sales training is how you sell it. And it's really, really important that you understand this, that product training is not the same as sales training. Product training are the plants you carry, the tools you carry, the accessories, the fertilizers, the mulches. That's what you carry. Selling is selling the things that you carry. Selling is, we teach this thing called the 6 steps to the perfect purchase. And selling is sales training is teaching people how to approach a customer skillfully so that they naturally get into a conversation, and so that conversation naturally flows into sort of an exploration of what they really want and need. And it naturally goes into recommending the right products for whatever the project is. All of the right products, right? The right tools, the right fertilizers, the right plants for the right spot. All of that is part of the questioning and listening step to the perfect purchase. And then there's closing the sale, actually getting the person who has come into your garden center to go to the register with all of this stuff that has been sold. And then finally, there's that ending part, the thank you, the sending them on their way correctly, getting them to join your loyalty program. So do you see there's a huge difference between what you sell and skillfully selling? And here's what I want to tell you, that when you make a commitment to sales training, you will see, I guarantee it, and I'll talk about our retail sales Academy Plus in just a little bit, but I guarantee you that when you train your people to sell, that you will see at least a 10% lift in your average ticket. So now I want you to think about this for a moment. If you're a $500,000 a year business and you get serious about sales training, you're going to add $50,000 to your annual sales without getting any new customers. That's just doing more with the customers you already have in your store. If you're $1 million a year garden center, you have now officially increased your annual sales by 10% without getting any new customers. If you're bigger, if you're a $5 or a $10 million a year garden center, let's just say you're a $5 million a year garden center. I'm looking at all of you and asking you, as the owner or the manager, would you get serious about sales training if you could increase your annual sales by $500,000 without getting any new customers? And I hope that you're going, yeah, absolutely. But it's about training. Again, you can't expect them to be skilled salespeople if you don't give them the training. Now, this is our friend Kathy McKillop, and she had a quilt store, not a garden center, but the quote remains true. And what she said is, my employees had a belief that selling meant being pushy or rude, or that they thought they were already doing a good job because they were helping their customers, because they loved sewing. But then once they understood that process called the perfect purchase, then they started to trust the system. You see, if you've got good, kind, friendly, helpful people already working for you, they're probably trying to sell successfully. But when you give them the skills, then all of a sudden they understand the process. Then they understand how important it is that they sell the right tools, that they add on the right fertilizers and plant foods and all of those things. So this really, really is important, that you understand that training is so important, that you're never going to get control of your business until you create a training program, a training process for your garden center. So this is the Goof Proof training system. This is a system that I created at the Mackinac Kite Company. And believe me, it works. This is a training process. This is a system. First, you have to create a course or a manual. And the course or the manual's got everything people need to know to be successful in your garden center. So it's documentation. It's documentation. But then you want to make videos that follow along with the manual. Why? Because when people watch videos, they're engaging more learning styles, right? They're listening, they're watching, they're doing all these things. But then having a manual in a video is not enough, because you need to be confident that they actually learned what they saw and what they read, right? I mean, just giving somebody an assignment to watch a video does not mean that they're actually paying attention. So what we created in this goof proof process is we just had people, as they were going through the video, which was mirroring the manual, they took an open book test. We just needed to make sure that they were paying attention. And then once they came back with a completed test, then we did a demonstration, a show me. So using the example of the window, or I'll give a better example, because one of the things that I believe is that a sign of operational excellence is that your bank counts down perfectly every night. And the only way you're going to get the bank to count down to perfect every night is if every employee has gives change perfectly every single time. So I used to just tell people to make change, and some people would make change this way, some people would make change that way. And it drove me crazy because I wanted my bank to rec perfectly every night. So then I said, wait a second, this is how I count change. I created a training video. This is how we count change at the Mackinac Kite Company. And, it was the dollars, the presidents all, faced the same way, the whole process. All of a sudden, our bank got perfect. Why? Because they had to show me that they actually knew how to do it. You see, when you have a show me, now you know that they know how to do it correctly. They know that you know that they know how to do it correctly. So there's no longer any excuses. There's no longer, I didn't know how to do this. Do you see what we're doing here? What we're doing is we are solving problems once and for all by training people correctly. So, Indy, do we have any questions so far? No questions. I hope that's because I'm explaining things correctly. And by the way, again, I am here for you. So if you have any questions, make sure that you ask them. And then here's the next thing. You have to deliver ongoing training. You cannot assume that people know that they're going to just remember it. So it's really important to this graph here is super important. It's called the forgetting curve. And what it shows is that if you don't retrain people, that within about 120 days, they have forgotten 95% of what they've learned. And every time, and this is the great news, every time that you reinforce what they've learned, this forgetting curve gets shallower and shallower. And this is the mistake that people make with training. They say, oh, I'm going to do a sales training. And they have everybody come in and they do an hour-long sales training. And then they're frustrated why by in the middle of June, nobody is selling the way that they were trained to sell. Why? Because they've forgotten about it. There's this idea, if you want greatness in your business, you are constantly retraining. You are constantly training. You are always working to make your team better. You're always working to help your team be more effective in your garden center. You're always working to give them a better set of skills, more skills. You're always working with them. And again, this is what's so cool. When you train, when you've made a commitment to this culture, the best people are going to respond. The best people are going to want to work with you. If you're not keeping people, the problem is you haven't created the right culture. And one of the secrets to creating this culture is by always recognizing that training isn't an event, it's a process. That you cannot train once and expect them to remember. You cannot train them once and expect them to be great. I took one golf lesson, and I remember a little bit about it, but it didn't help me, right? If I wanted to become a great golfer, I would have taken lessons every week. I would have practiced. I would have kept my head in the game. One training does not make an employee, just as one golf lesson did not make a golfer. So what are we doing? In this training process, we are setting our non-negotiable standards. Oh, it looks like I got an extra slide in here, but I wanted to talk about this real quickly. What is a non-negotiable standard? So we talked about a standard being what you do. A non-negotiable standard, when we talk about training, is a standard that everybody adheres to in exchange for their employment. Meaning you do this thing this way or you don't work here anymore. So we talked about the difference between behaviors and responsibilities. So when you start to create your training program, you are creating non-negotiable standards that are in that training program. I'll share something about non-negotiable standards. Years ago, so as I mentioned earlier, the old ANLA management clinic, I spoke there many, many years in a row. And it was I was at the airport, coming back from the management clinic, and I ran into a guy, and he said, "Hey, I saw you last year." Oh, great, yada, yada. And so he struck up a conversation. And this guy lived in California, and he had a big operation. He had a growing operation, he had a wholesale operation, and he had a big retail operation. I mean, I got to remember the numbers, but they had many hundreds of employees in this company. And what he said, that program that you did and that idea of non-negotiable standards was the single most important thing that I learned in my entire stay at the management clinic. And he said, this is what we did. We went back, and for each of these three divisions, we said, let's pick 3 non-negotiable standards and let's drive them home. And so for each of the 3 divisions, they looked at, and I'm asking you to think about and maybe even put them, in chat, what could solve a problem. So what would be a non-negotiable standard that would be really important to you? So for instance, it could be a frustration. If you have a frustration with people showing up late, being on time could be one of the non-negotiable standards that you choose to start with. So being on time, what are you doing? You're getting rid of a frustration. So let's talk about something else here real quickly. So be on time. Is that a responsibility or a behavior? It is a responsibility. So let's do be on time in the language of behaviors. So if this happens in your garden center, your shift starts at 9 o'clock. And so everybody starts rolling in at about 2 minutes till 9, and they clock in before 9 o'clock. I made it on time, right? Internet. I made it on time. Back when I was in retail, it was ka-chunk, it was the time clock. But as long as it registered before 9, they think they're on time. Then they take off their coat. Then they go to the coffee machine. Then they wander around the back room or, your stock room. Then they have a bite to eat. And then finally at about 8:45, they wander out onto the floor. If that's you, let me suggest that this would be a non-negotiable standard for being on time. You are on the floor ready to sell when your shift starts. So if you need to take off your coat and do all those things, you do that. You punch in at 9 o'clock and then you're on the floor. So you see the difference? So that would be an example of a non-negotiable standard. A non-negotiable standard that I recommend to every retailer is people are invited to join the loyalty program. It could be a non-negotiable standard that you attempt to add on at the counter to every sale. So ask yourself, what are 3 things, either opportunities that you're missing or frustrations or problems that you want to solve? 3 things. And then make sure that you make them non-negotiable, that you're watching it, that if they're not doing it, that you're talking to them about it right away. Non-negotiable. If it ain't written, it ain't real. Please write this down. If you're taking notes, write this down. If it ain't written, it ain't real. Your whole training process starts with writing down all of the things that we talked about earlier, writing down the policies, writing down the procedures, writing down the non-negotiable standards, writing down product knowledge, writing down how you sell. The first step in the goof-proof training process, remember, is, creating that manual. If it ain't written, it ain't real. If it ain't written, it's a rumor. And so we already talked about that, but really what we have here when we talk about training is this idea of it's a power triad, right? So so once you've trained people once, you have to continuously train them. And then once you train them and they're doing what you want them to do, you have to give them rewards. And we could spend literally a whole day just on rewards, and rewards are more than just money, attaboys, attagirls, bonuses, when your team hits a sales goal, bring in pizzas, all these things that make people feel good about doing what you want them to do. But then you also have to hold them accountable, because when you train and you give rewards, you also need to have part of this is if they're not doing what you want them to do, you have to have some mechanisms to get them to do what you want them to do. This is such an important slide. And by the way, if you would like this slide deck, you can, again, email me at bob.nagan@whizbangtraining.com, and I will send you the Red Hot Help Wanted ad report and this slide deck. But if you give them, without great training, rewards and accountability are a waste. And this is such a big mistake that I see people make. They have bonus programs. They have all these things. But if you don't train people, you can't expect them to get a bonus, right? They don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it. Accountability now without rewards is a punishment. Have you ever worked for somebody like that? They don't have a good word to say about anything. But boy, oh boy, when things go wrong, they got something to say about that. They're really just kind of in this punishment mode. I call that seagull management. You ever know anybody like that? And it might be you. They don't say anything. They don't say anything. Then all of a sudden, like a seagull, they fly in, they crap on everything, and then they fly away, right? That's punishment. But rewards without accountability, that's entitlement. And so you don't want any of these 3 things. It's all about all of them. So I really want to encourage you to think about an investment. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but we are right now, literally until this coming Friday, in the middle of introducing our new Retail Sales Academy Plus to the world. And it's one of the best investments you'll ever make in your business. And so, really what it is I will train your people how to sell. So you don't have to train your people how to sell. I will give them generic retail training in the 6 steps to the perfect purchase. By the time that they're done with the Retail Sales Academy, takes about 3.5 hours for the initial certifications, they will know how to sell. You will get that 10%. And I'm going to ask you again, what would you invest as far as time and money to get a 10% lift in your average ticket? If you're a $500,000 a year garden center, what would you invest to get $50,000 a year back? If you're $1 million, what would you invest? Time, money, energy to get $100,000 return on your investment. So there's the selling part, but what we're super excited about is now for the same price, you can create your custom courses. So all of your policies and procedures, all of your product knowledge, everything that you need to train your people in and on so that they are equipped to give your customers the best possible service. It can all go on one platform. And like I said, we are right now introducing this to the world for the very first time, and already people who are watching it and signing up and putting their training on it are just, I mean, people are over the moon. And this is how excited we are. And why I got to change that slide. Why are we so excited about it? We're excited about it for you, because training is the foundation of culture. You can't expect to create a great culture if you don't train your people how to do. And one of the biggest gaps in independent retail is this is a product or a platform where all of the training could be. And now you have it. And right now, and it's always only $299 a month. And there's, you know, if you have multiple stores or lots of employees, there's other things that go into it. But right now, until Friday, there is, what is there, $2,000 worth of bonuses, something like that. So there's a great bonus package. So what I really want to encourage you to do right now, I'm going to go back to that. I'm so excited. It's retailsalesacademy.com. Go take a look at it before this Friday, because if it's a good fit for you, and I think it would be, you want to sign up before Friday to get those bonuses. And so, Indy, you can put a link to retailsalesacademy.com. Can you also put a link to the tour that Susan gave so you can see what it's all about? But again, we can solve your training problems for you. So that's management. Management is about getting people to do what you want them to do. It's about training. It's very mechanical. It's about creating vision, standards, training, getting your people trained, making sure that they're adhering to your non-negotiable standards. This is the first step. But then there's leadership, because management is one thing. Management is telling them what to do. Leadership is getting them to want to do it. Right? Not forcing them to do it, making them want to do it. And that's what culture is. And so when you start to think about culture, so when you think of the French, there's a very distinct French culture. And it's got a very distinct feel, you know, wine, baguettes, a beret, the handlebar mustache, you know, but, you know, when you think of French, you think of that. What Seth Godin defines culture as people like us doing things this way. Isn't that perfect? So if you want to really, really take advantage of the advantages that you have as an independent garden center, you want to create a culture where everybody is doing things the way that you want them to do. You want it to be like that. You want to be the goldfish in the front, and you want everybody to follow you. You want people to buy into your mission, to buy into your vision, to buy into your core values. And you do that by living your vision. In fact, it was interesting because before I got here, I was on the phone with Susan with an old friend of ours. We were in a mastermind for a long time. His name's Tom Kulzer. He is the founder of AWeber. And I don't know if you know what AWeber is. It's an email marketing service, and Tom is enormously successful. And we were just having a conversation. He was talking about culture. And what he said about his culture is, he said, really, I kind of get it to the place where when somebody's walking into the parking lot, you know, if I see a piece of paper in the parking lot, I'm going to pick up that piece of paper. But culture is, whenever anybody on my team walks by that piece of paper, they pick it up. People like us doing things this way. People like us treating our customers this way. People like us understanding what we do and why we do it and acting this way. That's what culture is. Start by training them and giving them the tools, and then start to empower them. And so there's training. And then this is one of the things that is really, really changing the game for our best clients. And, for the people in our Platinum Mastermind, they're in a mastermind and they have adapted the mindset that their team is a mastermind. And a mastermind is when people get together for the common good and they brainstorm and they think. And the idea is that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 + 1 equals 3 or 4. And I want you to think about this for a moment. So if you have 10 employees whose average time with you is 3 years, recognize that in addition to your experience, you have 30 more years of experience. And a lot of that experience is on the floor. A lot of that experience is everywhere. So by getting your people and tapping into their passion, tapping into their creativity, tapping into their experience, all of a sudden your business is going to go, whew. You don't have to figure things out. Let me just say this. If you're taking notes, write this down. As a leader, you don't have to know anything. That's not quite true. But what you do have to do is you have to be able to find anything out. And so when you have problems, when you have opportunities, when you have anything in your business that needs to be solved, go to your team and ADD it. Ask, discuss, decide. So let me give you a couple of examples. And by the way, put in chat if you have a problem that you should ADD. So I'll share a perfect example of an ADD. One of our Platinum Mastermind group members has 8 stores. I mean, she's won more awards than you can shake a stick at. 8 pet stores in Maine. And she was having lots of problems with inventory discrepancy. And she was trying to figure it out on her own. She joined the Platinum Mastermind group. We gave her some ideas, but we said, mostly you need to ADD this with your team. She ADD. Ask. We're having problems with inventory, with just receiving discrepancies. What can we do? They all discussed it together. They decided on a plan of action, and the plan of action worked. If the plan of action hadn't worked, what would they do? They'd come back to ask, discuss, decide again. So recognize this. Tap into your team. Empower your team. Let them feel like they're part of the decision-making process in your business. So here is the quote. Again, if you're taking notes, write this down. Let them help you plan the fight, and they won't fight the plan. Let me say that again. Let them help you plan the fight, and they won't fight the plan. If you tell everybody exactly what they're doing, now there are non-negotiable standards, of course, but if there's problems or opportunities, if you make a big initiative, if you're looking to change the culture, you want them to buy in. And when you ask, discuss, decide, when you ADD these things, all of a sudden they feel part of the process. They are co-creating the culture with you. And when you have a team that co-creates, you are going to create an amazing culture. And that amazing culture is going to bleed out. And your customers are going to feel it. And your customers are going to be more loyal. They're going to tell people about your garden center. We call it the upward spiral of prosperity. You're going to be a better business. You're going to experience less stress. You're going to have a more energized team. You're going to have happier customers, and you're going to make a lot more money. So, do we have any questions, Indy?
No questions. He said he is so inspired.
Steve, thank you very much, my friend. I hope that you'll be inspired. So let's talk about a couple things. Steve, if you're so inspired by this, you will be incredibly inspired by the boot camp. If you haven't registered yet, please, I guarantee you that it will be one of the most valuable 4 hours you will ever spend in your business. Because here's what happens, and how do I know this? Because I've spent the last 42 years in retail. And I know this from my experience in the Platinum Mastermind Group. Even the most successful businesses don't spend time thinking about the higher layer of structure. So even the most successful businesses think about, how do I build sales? How do I put out this fire? How do I solve this problem? Where are the opportunities? But if you really want to get control of your business, what you have to think about is roles and souls. Who does what? What does my organizational chart? We call it a retail accountability blueprint. Thinking about your business at a higher level will give you an entirely different outlook on how your business should run. And once you understand how it should run, you put these pieces in place in your business, good things start to happen. So I would just really encourage you all to sign up. It's from 1 to 5. I mean, it's dirt cheap. It's like $45. I'll tell you what, if you don't think you get $45, if you don't think you get $450, if you don't think you get $4,500 worth of value out of it, you come ask me and I'll pay you with cash out of my pocket. I'll give you money back. I mean, I know I've done this program so many times and people just come up to me and go, wow, I haven't thought of my business like that before. This has been so valuable. RetailSalesAcademy.com. If your team is sort of scattered, if you have a lot of people and nobody's getting trained and everybody's getting trained by different people, and the result is a really sort of a hodgepodge of training, you owe it to yourself to take a look at the Retail Sales Academy by Friday, because if you register and sign up by Friday, you're going to get this wonderful, wonderful bonus package. I mean, it's worth it at any time, but between now and Friday, do your research now to decide whether it's for you, because don't wait for a week, because the bonus package is worth putting it on your calendar and putting it on your schedule and finding out about it sooner. And then finally, Bob Nagan at whizbangtraining.com, bob.nagan, at whizbangtraining.com. If you want this slide deck and a copy of the free report on how to write a red hot help wanted ad, email me there. So these are 3 real opportunities. So Steve likes what I said. If you feel like I know what I'm talking about, if you think that this hour and a half has been valuable and you would like more, and I guarantee you at Whizbang Training, we have a lot more for you. We can help your business. We can help your business. I would encourage you to take a look at all these things. And we would love to have you be part of our community. We would love to help you have a better garden center, a better business. We'd love to help you experience a better life because you have a better business. And I'll just sort of end by saying, I'm finishing up a book right now. It's going to be, the title is Mighty on Main Street: How Independent Retailers Are Changing the World, One Store at a Time. And you are an independent retailer. You are mighty on Main Street. There's never been a better time to be an independent retailer. There has never been a better time to be an independent garden center. And I just really want to encourage you to recognize that now is the time to take advantage of all of these wonderful opportunities that are available to you. These three things are just a small sampling of what we can do for you, what's available to you, but also of the opportunities that are available to you as an independent garden center. So I hope that that I see you in Milwaukee. I hope that you'll choose to be part of our community. And to end it, Indy, do we have any questions? A giveaway. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Indy.
And Bob,
Go with the first person.
Oh, that's right. So I am so sorry. That was totally remiss. So I'm going to give away 2 tickets right now. Indy at whizbangtraining.com. So how many people do we have right now? We have 10. So email Indy at whizbangtraining.com. Email number 4 with the subject line boot camp. How's that? Email number 4 to Indy at whizbangtraining.com. You will win 2 tickets to the boot camp. And thank you so much, Indy. I was remiss. So we will wait until a winner has been chosen. We will announce it right here. But
and Bob, yeah. I'm back on with you. I just
hi, Ralph.
Back on to thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today. And I too was going to jump in because it slipped our mind about those 2 ticket giveaways.
Yeah,
I want to make sure that we don't we don't go back on our word on that. Thank you very much.
I'm refreshing as we speak.
Okay. There we go. So did you have any questions, Ralph?
I do not. I do have a couple of reminders. We want everyone to get out and register today, or not get out and do it, but go to gardencentershow.com and register to be there August 9th through the 12th. Get there a day early for the boot camp or the tour of local Milwaukee garden centers. We don't want people. We want people to hit one or the other the day before the show to get them all geared up for a couple of great days on the show floor. And to those people who are registering and are going to be staying overnight in Milwaukee, make sure you sign up for your hotel rooms this week through our website, and you'll get the discounted rate with the hotel. We're hoping to extend that, but we're still waiting to hear back from the hotel. On Friday is the deadline we've been told. So please do that and get on that. And I can't wait to meet people in person in Milwaukee in 4 weeks from today.
That's great. Wonderful. So yes, we would love to see you. So Indy, do we have a winner?
Don't see anything yet, but I will keep watching. So
no one has entered to win? Well, if nobody enters to win, we're not going to give any tickets away. So, and by the way, so even if you win them, you can give them to friends, garden center, industry friends. So, okay, there we go. I think we're going to call this a day then. All right. So everybody, I'm so grateful that you're here live. Just honor that you're here. And if you're watching this as a replay, I'm honored that you chose to spend an hour and a half with me. I hope that you find it inspiring, and I hope our paths cross someday. So, Ralph and the Garden Center Show, everybody involved with the Garden Center Show, Andrea, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.